You're ready to make a change to your landscape, which is great, but you've probably gone online and now you're getting all kinds of conflicting advice on the best way to hire a landscape contractor. How do you find a landscape professional who's honest, who's competent, and who's fair in their pricing? I'm a landscape designer. I've got over 20 years experience in the industry, and I'm here to tell you how we can make it happen. So let's keep watching. I'm glad you're watching. I'm Dave Marciniak, landscape designer and owner of RevolutionaryGardens.com. We're a landscape design firm located in Culpeper, Virginia, and I also have a blog at RevolutionaryGardens.com, and I also speak to groups about all kinds of landscape topics. And one question comes up over and over and over again: how the heck do I hire a landscape contractor who's going to do a great job for me? Well, let's put my years of experience to work, and let's look at a couple things, starting here. I know, you're probably amazed, right? A landscape designer is saying the best place to start is with a landscape design or a sketch or something like that. But it really is important. If you're having anything installed that, is open to interpretation, you need to have a design. So you need to know what it is that you're looking at. I don't care if it's a planting bed, patio, deck, screen porch, anything else like that. How are you going to know if you like what you're getting unless you know what it looks like? And then maybe if you have a maintenance project or a landscape enhancement, something like that, maybe doesn't require a full-scale drawing, you should at least have a detailed scope of work, project outline, something like that. And that's a great way to start. It's also really important to do this because if you're getting multiple estimates, how are you going to know if you're comparing apples to apples, right? After all, Bob may be a third less than Sally, but if Sally is giving you everything you want, who's a better price? Exactly. So telling you not to necessarily get 3 estimates, it almost seems like heresy on the internet, because every home improvement site online is going to tell you always get 3 bids. But here's the thing, why are you getting 3 bids? Let's think about the reasoning. The idea is that if you get 3 bids, you'll know what the best price is because you'll know what the fair price is. But that's not always the case. If you're buying a book on Amazon and you've got 3 different sellers selling it and they're 3 different price points, it's a book. It already exists. It's the exact same thing. You can choose on price. If you're doing that with your contractors, that can be dangerous. And let's talk about why. So we've got an example scenario, and let's say that I want to have a paver patio built. So I have a design done by this awesome design firm, Revolutionary Gardens, and I get 3 estimates. So I get Jen to give me a price, I get Cletus to give me a price, and I get Francisco to give me a price. And here's where they come in. So Jen, $5,000. How amazing is that? Cletus, $8,000, and Francisco, a whopping $10,000, twice what Jen's price is. So let's talk about this, though, because I've had plenty of scenarios where we've had to go in behind somebody else and clean up, and this is what happens. Number one, let's look at Jen. So Jen's price is amazing, and it's half what the highest price is. Well, come to find out, Jen does beautiful maintenance work. She has this landscape maintenance company. They do an amazing job on their maintenance projects, a little bit of planting stuff, seasonal color, containers, all that good stuff. But she's never done a paver patio before. Now, that's why she's such a good price, because maybe she missed something. Maybe she doesn't know everything that has to go into it. So even if you trust that Jen is going to make it all right at the end of the day, it's still going to end up costing you more than $5,000. I guarantee it, and there's going to be a lot of frustration. So looking at the other end, Francisco's $10,000. How the heck is Francisco so much? Well, it may seem like a high price and one that we would just disregard, but then you look and you think, wow, Francisco has an amazing reputation around town, not just for doing great work, but for doing great quality at a really, really fair price. So it all comes down to Francisco knows what he's doing, does a really good job, does what he says he does, when he says he's going to do it, and follows all the most recent programs for doing the correct installation methods. What about Cletus, though? Because Cletus is pretty close, so maybe it's just as good. Well, it turns out that while Francisco is following ICPI specs for the amount of compacted aggregate base and everything else, Cletus is cut on a couple corners, and maybe his crew comes and goes as they please, and a job that should take 3 to 4 days ends up taking 4 to 5 weeks. So it's one of those intangibles, and you really have to think about that when you're shopping prices, because if you're a homeowner and this is the first time you've done it, or you only do this every 5-10 years, are you always going to know what the fair price is? It's a great reason to work with a landscape designer, but at the very least, you need to follow the next step I'm going to talk about, which is making sure that you're comparing apples to apples. So the great thing about having a landscape project done nowadays is that you have so many options available to you online that you can actually check out your contractors in advance and see who you like. But how do you compare apples to apples? How do you know if contractor A is as good as contractor B or contractor C? Well, there's really no shortcut. You got to do some legwork. You have to do some research. I wish it was easier, but that's the reality. So, what are some easy steps for research? Well, first of all, step one, go to their website. Take a look at their portfolio and see, does this look like good quality craftsmanship to me? Does this look like the kind of work that I would like to see at my property? Sometimes it's a matter of the type of craftsmanship that they do, and other times it's just stylistically. If you've got an ultra modern bent, maybe you want to look for that in the portfolio of the landscape company you're looking for. The second thing you want to do is you want to go online and look for online reviews. And that can be Houzz, that can be Google, that can be Yelp. All sorts of sites like that are going to have reviews set up for what these different contractors have done in the past. It's not a failsafe, but it's a good way to get started and try to find out if somebody's a good fit. So after you do those first two steps, the next step is to go ahead and call the contractor and decide, okay, is this a fit or not? You'll talk to the contractor. They'll discuss with you sort of how they work, what their expectations are. You can tell them what you're looking for. And it's a good, simple pre-screening chance for both parties to see if they're a fit. It's not just about the contractor seeing, hey, do I want to work with this homeowner? It's also the homeowner saying, gosh, is this the level of professionalism that I'm looking for? Is this the right thing for me? The fourth thing is then you schedule the home visit. And that's an opportunity for the contractor to come out and actually walk your property, see what's working, what's not, get a sense of where you want to go with it. And you can talk about your ideas and kind of see what makes sense and how you want to go from here. The thing that's so important is you want to make sure that whoever you hire is somebody that you feel comfortable with. And this is what blows my mind, is that I've had so many clients who've had problems because they hire a contractor who maybe their reputation was good or the price seemed right or who knows, but they never felt comfortable with them. You got to remember, you're going to be spending a lot of money with this person over the next several weeks. It's not going to get better the more money and the more time you spend together. So then at that point, if it feels like it's a fit and you think you want to move forward with this person, ask to see some completed jobs, or even better, ask to talk to the client whose job they're working on right now. After all, it's easy to cherry pick your testimonials, right? I mean, everybody in the industry does it. But the job you're on is the job you're on. And I think that's a great opportunity to see, okay, what they're doing right now. Does the customer not only like the product, but is the process good? Because that's where a lot of guys fall down. Finally, when you get that proposal, you want to make sure that if you're doing multiple proposals, they're all for the same scope of work. This is easiest, of course, if you start with a design or a project outline, like I mentioned before, but it's really, really important. That's why I said it. And finally, if you have any questions whatsoever, now's the time to ask. If you've got uncertainties or anything like that, a little thing worrying you in the pit of the stomach, you don't want to press forward. It is our job as landscape professionals to remove uncertainty from the equation. If you have that uncertainty, we're not mind readers, we need to know. Because if you don't say anything, what's going to happen is that little worry, that little doubt, it's going to start out small. And then it's going to get bigger, and it's going to get bigger, and it's going to get bigger, and then you'll have a bad day at work, or something will happen, and boom, it blows up on the job site, and doesn't need to happen if you could have asked it up front, and that way you know and you can sleep better at night. If you don't feel comfortable asking those hard questions of your contractor, you might not be talking to the right contractor. So many problems that customers have had with contractors could have been prevented if they would have had a detailed contract. If all your contract is maybe just a piece of carbon paper or something and it says, patio, walk, plantings, $14,000, you're going to get what you get. I mean, there's no real clear defined scope of work or anything else there. What I always tell my customers to look for in their proposals is, let's have not just the basics of what it is, but let's have actual materials. What materials are you going to use? If it's a paver, what manufacturer, what style, what color, what's the installation method, what are the approximate dimensions or square footage of the area, if we're doing plants, what size of the plants, what quantities, everything else. Because if you don't know what the actual scope of work is, how do you know when it's finished and it's time to pay your bill? Another complaint that I hear all the time is my contractor wants more money to finish the job, or from the other side of the table, what I hear is I need more money to finish the job and my homeowner won't release funds. Now, how do you resolve this issue? By starting up front with an actual payment draw schedule. And so what I mean by that is what I'm looking for is there's going to be a certain amount that's due just to hold your place in line. Then there's going to be amount to get your project started, and then there's going to be a draw schedule tied to milestones throughout the project. So it may be completion of demolition, completion of patio pour, installation of plants, whatever it is, you're going to have specific milestones. And then at the end of the job, you're going to have a certain holdback that will be released after the final walkthrough. It's totally reasonable. Make sure that you're accountable for payment and your contractor is accountable for the work that they're doing. Now, if a milestone isn't hit, you don't make that payment unless you negotiate it with the contractor. But if the contractor hits that milestone, you better be ready with your checkbook, because what I've seen happen all too many times is a homeowner's slow on payment, and the contractor, they've got to get paid. They've got subs to pay, they got material suppliers to pay. So if they're not getting paid, they may pull off your job, and it may even cost you more money to have them come back. So be careful, don't hose yourself with that, but a payment schedule is super, super important to having a great experience with a landscape contractor. So establishing a communication process really tends to fall more on the contractor than on the homeowner, but if they don't bring it up, it's definitely worth asking, and here's why. Let's say that the job's in progress, the salesperson or the owner of the company or whoever it was that you spoke to initially isn't there on site, and you see something happening that you either want to make a change, or you're wondering if it's the right thing to do, or you want to add something. Who do you talk to? Do you talk to the foreman? Do you talk to the installer? Is there a project manager? Do you call the owner? If you don't know who to talk to, you don't know who's authorized to accept that change and make that change. The last thing you want to do is get hit with change orders later in the process, or find out that your request, while the installer was more than happy to honor it, it may have messed things up farther down the road. So definitely find out what exactly it is that you need to do for any questions, comments, changes, anything else like that. Yes, that's right. Contractors are human beings too. I know it probably seems weird, but it's the honest truth. The internet is so full of stories of contractors who are out there to do terrible things. They're going to take your money, they're going to rob your jewelry, they're going to take your kidneys when you're not looking, or whatever stupid thing that, your grandmother is circulating around on Facebook this week. But the fact of the matter is, those are the bad apples, and they don't spoil the whole barrel. The majority of your contractors out there are people just like you who just want to do a great job. They want to get paid fairly for the work that they do, and then they want to go home and spend time with their kids, take them to soccer practice, go on vacations, the same thing any normal person wants to do. So if you follow the steps that I've listed above, you've definitely increased your odds of finding a good contractor, somebody who's fair, somebody who's reliable. Go ahead and go with that, and make sure that you have a great relationship with your contractor moving forward, because again, they're just like you. You've done your homework. You had a great design done, you've done a lot of research, you found an awesome contractor, you got a detailed scope of work, you outlined what the process is going to be for working with them, asking questions, everything else. So now it just comes down to execution, and that's where your landscape contractor shines. So just relax, just remember to breathe, and it's all going to be great. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and hit subscribe, and you'll get more of those coming up in the future. Also, I love getting comments. If you got questions, comments, anything about what you heard today, definitely let me know in the comments. And in the meantime, you can always find me at revolutionarygardens.com. And in the meantime, get out and play. Thanks.